On the evening of 28 January 2022, 8 friends met at the Waterfall Bar and Grille in Canton, Massachusetts. Shortly after midnight, with a snowstorm bearing down on the small town just outside of Boston, the group retired from Waterfall to the home of Boston police officer Brian Albert. By 7 a.m. that morning, one of the 8 would be dead, and the lives of the other 7 and almost everyone they knew and loved, indeed, the whole town of Canton, would be inexorably changed. But no one would have their life changed like John O'Keefe's live-in girlfriend, Karen Reed.
Breaking right now at noon, new details about the moments leading up to the death of a Boston police officer as his girlfriend answers to several charges in that case. Thanks for joining us here at noontime. I'm Paula Ebbett. Officer John O'Keefe was found unresponsive in the snow on Saturday and later pronounced dead at the hospital. We want to get right to WBZ's Beth Germano, who's live in Stoughton with what role prosecutors say Karen Reed played in his death. Beth?
Well, certainly a very tragic story, and those details were revealed in a courtroom that was packed with 2 different families. Bail was set at $50,000 for Karen Reed, but she posted bail and just left the courthouse with her attorney and family members. Prosecutors say she had been in a relationship with Boston police officer John O'Keefe for 2 years. She's facing manslaughter, motor vehicle homicide by negligent operation, leaving the scene of an accident after Officer O'Keefe was found Saturday morning in the middle of the blizzard with severe cuts to his arms, eyes swollen shut, cuts to his head, and a skull fracture. Prosecutors say Reed and O'Keefe had been to 2 bars Friday night, then went to an after party in Canton where she dropped him off but didn't stay. She allegedly told police she made a 3-point turn, never saw him go in the house, and went home. But when O'Keefe didn't return, prosecutors say she became frantic, contacting friends to go back to the house.
Throughout the night, she'd been calling and texting the victim numerous times with no response. Officers also interviewed several first responders, including a firefighter paramedic from the town of Canton, indicated that she arrived on scene, observed the victim's condition, went to speak to the defendant in regard to any sort of prior medical issues or causality of the injuries that she observed to his face, to which the defendant then made several statements to her, indicating, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him."
Welcome to Mom's Murders and Mysteries, the true crime show hosted by regular folks who love solving the unsolvable by being the ultimate murder show nerds. Your co-host is Maggie O'Connell, joined by her mother, nicknamed Mama High Hurdle, and Triple M's official researcher, Just the Facts Ma'am, Justin Durand, which we've shortened to Double JD. I'm your moderator and official murder mystery solver, cat herder-in-chief, Mike Church. In our pilot episode, we gave our audience a 30,000-foot view of this case and focused on what is known and unknown about John O'Keefe and his murder. In this episode, we'll flip the script and focus on the nightmare-like night and early morning of Karen Reed. All right, Maggie, we talked an awful lot about what happened to John O'Keefe and what he was going through on that night. And we did talk a little bit about Karen Reed and the kind of night that she had. We didn't really get into the nitty-gritty details. And I know that Double JD has a lot to add to the details. Starting at the waterfall, she was overserved, shall we say. But it's interesting to me that apparently the Alberts and whoever had invited the people to the bar were buying lots of shots and were kind of like we would do here in New Orleans with a hurricane party. They were having a blizzard party.
Yes, so they were having a party, obviously. Shots were flowing, drinks were just coming out steadily, and it seems that they were just having a grand old time, all of them. But the fact that most of them were police officers or associated in that way, shape, or form, why are they all out that late, that early in the morning, drinking, knowing a blizzard's coming, knowing that some roads are closing, so on and so forth? Who knows?
Well, one of the things that, and I think I talked about it maybe earlier with you, or maybe with Justin, was these guys were all cops. They were all law enforcement. So what they intended to do was to get completely and totally poop-faced or schnockered, or as they say in Scotland, peshed. And then they were going to basically form a convoy with one cop at the start and one cop at the end and all the other cars in the middle, so that nobody could pull in behind and actually, tail them and see if they were swerving or whatever. So it seems to me that it is well known by the people that are at this bar, Justin. They know that they're crap-faced, and the evening apparently, though, is just getting started, and they're going to go and continue the party. So why don't you pick up with, because I know that you've watched the trials intently, how many drinks did she have? Did she turn any drinks down? The other guys were pounding booze as well. What do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they could even count how many drinks she had in total. They were going by recollection and what was on the camera. I know at one point she did turn down a shot, I believe, or like took a sip and then put it down, something along those lines. But while these people are all there, and I think it was a mixture of a blizzard party, and I believe it was Brian Albert's birthday, the homeowner of 34 Fairview. So again, while they're at this bar, they're doing shots, they're drinking, they're all going crazy. They all finally decide they're going to be leaving. But during the course of the night, we had kind of hinted at this earlier, Brian Higgins, who is an ATF agent, is texting Karen Reed things like, well, ... And what that it was alluding to is there were a series of text messages that he actually had to read in court. Flirtatious text messages back and forth between he and Karen. It appears on the CCTV footage while they're all drinking that Higgins gets a little bit agitated that Karen Reed is not responding to these text messages. He and John O'Keefe start kind of pointing at each other. Higgins at one point is on a film kind of play fighting with the gentleman next to him. Maybe alluding to what he was going to do later in the night. And then right about this time, O'Keefe and Higgins are kind of pointing back and forth at each other as everybody's starting to leave. O'Keefe kind of signals to Higgins in a way of like, get out of here, get out of here. Higgins seems to make the motion to O'Keefe something like, come step outside, come outside. And that's when O'Keefe gets a text message from Higgins, probably while Higgins is either arriving at 34 Fairview or while he's already there, saying, you coming? ? So that's kind of where we pick up.
And it seems to me that you coming. That's guy talk for dude, brah. Where you at, man? Also, maybe, hey man, you were a big man earlier tonight. You still feeling it, bro? Right? That's what it sounds like to me.
Which to me also could explain, we talked in the previous episode, why Karen Reed wouldn't go into that home.
Makes total sense.
She knows there's some sort of altercation going on between her boyfriend and a guy that she's been kind of flirtatious with in text messages. May not want to go in and see what's going to happen there either.
That makes sense why she asked to make sure we're welcome.
Yeah, she said welcome. Make sure we're welcome. Let's bring Mama High Hurdle in here. There will be some forensic and some medical stuff that we can get into here later on in the program. But we've all had those late night outs at bars with friends, and as we talked earlier, this is a perfectly womanly thing to do, especially considering the fact that there may have been a little hanky-panky suspected going on. Hey, dude, John, why don't you go inside and make sure that we're still welcome to come inside and party?
Yes, that would be something to do, especially if there's some hanky-panky going on. You definitely wouldn't feel welcomed.
So then we pick it up from here, and this is pretty much where, as we said last episode, this is the end of John O'Keefe's night. Now, this show Mom's Murders and Mysteries, we're going to, there's a theory out there, and I think Justin has a really good one of what he thinks actually happens. Maggie has a theory, and we do have a skeptic among us here.
I'm getting lost by the moment on this mess.
No, you look. We're all Fox Mulders. Me, Maggie, and Justin are Fox Mulders. You have to play Dana Scully.
Okay, I'm Scully. I'll continue to be Scully.
You're the rational scientist in this.
I am. Y'all were talking earlier about the text messages that her and John were going back and forth, and she was basically cursing him out and, telling him all kinds of stuff. And one of the text messages, if I'm not mistaken, she basically, she was cussing him out and she called him a pervert. Am I wrong on that one?
I've got that exactly. This was voicemail number 5 at 1:10 a.m. It says, "It's 1 a.m. I'm with your bleep niece and your nephew. You bleep pervert. You're a bleeping pervert."
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, that I can understand being upset with somebody and, cursing them out and you're drunk and everything. But to call somebody a pervert kind of takes it to a different level for me. It's almost like, did she know something that he was doing? Was he doing something that she knew about? You don't just call somebody a pervert unless you've got a reason. At least I wouldn't. Am I wrong?
Justin, kind of ironic to me, though, that it's Higgins and Reed that are supposedly, having or flirting with you, with the flirt texting or whatever you want to call it. And then she calls him a pervert.
I think they call that projecting, right?
Oh, okay. Well,
that's exactly what they call that.
Yeah, I mean, in the weeks before this all happened, there were text messages between Karen and John O'Keefe where she was a little bit paranoid that maybe he was seeing somebody else or interested in somebody else. Again, projecting, right? Because she knows she's having flirtatious text messages with Higgins. So this was not new for her to be accusing him of something like that.
Let's talk about the science that behind the logic, even if it's drunk logic, behind leaving. How many voicemails and texts did she leave? Like 30?
I'm
Dozens.
not sure the exact number. Justin, do you know the exact number? I know that they only played like 10 or 12 during the court case.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty incessant for the evening until she went to bed.
Until she goes and she passes out here. Just viewing this, though, from someone, and I will be a star witness for the defense here. When you're leaving those kind of messages and stuff, you're not in the frame of mind of plotting a criminal mastermind or executing a criminal mastermind plot, especially a murder plot.
And that was one of my main things too, because I watch a lot of crime and ID Network and everything. And, the person that is always accused always goes, "Oh no, I love Aunt Bobo. I loved her. I would never, ever kill her." And then you've got Karen Reed saying, "F this, you're a pervert, you're this, that, and the other." She's not a criminal mastermind if that's the case. If she really did kill him, that would be you're making yourself a target.
Okay, so in my former life, when I was a narrator for a series of horror shows that went on in another house in New England, I might have asked the question, and now audiences still want to know what exactly happened inside 34 Fairview Lane. And I do want to know what happened inside Double JD. And you are my go-to expert guy because you have studied this iPhone. Now, one of the things that I've learned, Justin, and Mama High Hurdle has an iPhone. I have one. I think Justin has one. One of the things that I've learned, and I learned this in Fat Fonnie Willis's persecution of Donald Trump. I learned, number one, what the real capabilities of a cell phone tower are, because those jokers don't just have one little node on them. They usually have 9 nodes on them if they're in the triangle form, and each node is very specific to the direction that the radio signal is coming from. And they are extraordinarily accurate. That's one thing. The other thing is that an iPhone can tell you elevation according to sea level. An iPhone can tell you global with a GPS, global positioning satellite, kind of where you are. And it can also tell you, as Justin pointed out earlier, maybe how many steps you have taken, because the health app is monitoring your heart rate and your blood pressure. So, Justin,
You know what else it tells you?
what's that?
Temperature.
It tells you temperature. I think that the strange night of Karen Reed, which, we covered the strange death of John O'Keefe. Now, Karen Reed, did she actually do it? Before we get to the I did it, and I think that we'll talk about that in some detail throughout the course of the podcast series here. But Justin, that phone of his apparently is moving through, or at least at certain points in the night, and then again later in the night, correct?
So, a few things on this. So, Karen had said that when she dropped him off, her recollection was that he started walking towards the house. John's phone registers 80 steps after the point that they stop at 34 Fairview and up and down 3 flights of stairs. We don't know if he was going down, whether he was going up. It registers steps being taken. If you walk 80 steps from where Karen would have dropped him off, there is no entrance into the house from the garage, but there's kind of a back door around the back of the garage. And in order to get in the house, there's a staircase.
Okay.
Seems to reason to me that that would be the 80 steps and the staircases. Now, the prosecution at trial had a witness come up to try to say that this was not entirely accurate, that the phone could have been pinging off of different towers. His name was Judd Wechsler. Bob Alessi, who was one of Karen Reed's attorneys, by the end of the testimony, got this witness, and this was the cross-examination, to admit that, yes, the 80 steps also could be accurate and the 3 flights of stairs could be accurate. And the last question he asked this gentleman was, is there reasonable doubt as to where that phone was between these different minutes? And he said, yes, I would say there's reasonable doubt. To me, that was the end of the case right there. Now, a few other interesting things happened at this point, and you were kind of alluding to my theory on this. I feel like there was some sort of fight gone wrong. I don't believe that there was a murder in terms of something being planned.
Okay.
I think there was some sort of fight between Higgins and John O'Keefe that went wrong. He hit his head. Everybody panicked. Something happened along those lines. Something interesting to note is Brian Higgins, after a night of heavy drinking, as we saw on the CCTV footage at the Waterfall Bar and Grill, getting absolutely hammered, blizzard party, everybody's having tons of fun, you go back for a birthday party. Generally speaking, when I'm doing something like that, I don't say, you know what I should do right now, go to work. Brian Higgins returns to the Canton Police Department to do what he said was administrative work from 1:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, doesn't seem like something you do in a drunken stupor. However, let's say you were trying to monitor 911 calls or see if anybody called in a missing person, something like that. Maybe I'd want to be at the police station and monitor something like that to alert people that maybe you want to do something with this body that's in the house. It's funny that you mentioned the temperature of the cell phone. So if you're laying out in the cold from 12:32 in the morning until the body's found at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
iPhones have something that can measure the temperature of the phone. And what's interesting is when they took the temperature of the phone, and they can do this, every minute, you can see what the temperature of the phone was at that time. The phone gradually decreases from the normal temperature that you would have, steadily decreases until it reaches about 50 degrees. Once it reaches about 50 degrees, it stays there the rest of the night. Now, I'm not a weatherman. I'm not a scientist. There was a blizzard going on. I don't think it can snow when it's 50 degrees outside. But what could be 50 degrees? Maybe if you moved a body to the garage or a basement, maybe it could be 50 degrees there. My theory on this is that it was a fight gone wrong. Something happened at the house. Everybody's drunk. They're all cops. They're all scared, and they panic, and that's what happened to John O'Keefe.
Well, and then there is the mystery as we go along here of the infamous dozens and dozens of butt dials.
Wait, before we move on here, JD, remind me, wasn't his cell phone found underneath his body at 6 a.m.?
It was found underneath his body at 6 a.m., so that would have been keeping the phone a little bit warmer, body temperature at the time. But also, one interesting thing to note, too. So all these text messages are coming in from Karen to him, voicemails. Jennifer McCabe was texting John. The phone registered that it had been locked manually. So not it had just turned off. The phone had been locked manually, meaning pressing the button on the side of your iPhone to turn it off.
Right.
Yet all of those text messages were in red status, meaning somebody had looked at them and the phone had been unlocked using a Face ID. Just something interesting.
So I didn't know that part about it. And again, as your resident expert here on iPhones and Apple products, I can tell you it's very annoying that the thing locks itself, and that you have to either if you don't have the retinal scan or the thumbprint, you got to know the 4-digit code to unlock the phone here. So there's a lot going on here with this phone, but we're not done with the phone yet. Now, what happens, Mama Hurdle? What happens when Captain Papa Smurf Grumpy, Mr. Grumpy Pants, what happens when he loses his iPhone? What does he ask you to do?
To call him.
And call him.
Call him and call him and call him till he can find it.
So what are you doing while you're calling Papa Smurf, Captain Grumpy Pants? When you're looking for his phone, you're calling it so you can hear it do what?
So you can hear it ring.
Right.
Yeah. But y'all are talking about, having a retinal scan or a fingerprint or a thumbprint or 4-digit code. Mr. Grumpy Pants has no pass code on his Apple phone. Nothing. So any Joe Blow could pick it up and open it up, read his text, answer the text message, could do anything with it. He has no lock on it at all.
Okay, so
we're saying not all men are like you and JD and protect your privacy. Mr. Grumpy Pants does not.
But JD, Justin, we can confirm that John O'Keefe did lock his phone. He did have a code.
He manually locked the phone, and it was reopened using facial recognition.
So I want to talk next here about all of these. Again, they said they were butt dials. And this to me, I forgot. I think there were 16. How many? There were 16 butt dials. Or however many butt dials, and they were like, no, I just mistakenly just kept putting it in my drunk back pocket and just kept calling the same number over and over and over again. This again is just, Justin, this is not plausible. If you're butt dialing someone, then lock the phone and you won't be able to butt dial someone.
So there were not only butt dials, there were butt answers as well. One of them that nobody can recollect doing, and these are between Brian Higgins and Brian Albert. They're between Jennifer McCabe and Brian Albert, Jennifer McCabe and Brian Higgins. All of them claim these are all these butt dials. Now, again, butt dials happen. No question. A butt answer followed by a 17-second phone call does not happen. That seems a little bit suspicious, and nobody can explain why there would be a 17-second call. And all of these happening within a fairly short period of time, all these butt dials and butt answers, to me seems like people trying to get their stories straight, trying to figure out what's going on and what they should say and who they should say it to.
Yes, so it's worth noting, too, that Jennifer McCabe testified to making 7 calls to John O'Keefe's cell phone that were, quote, likely butt dials, end quote. And those occurred between 12:29 and 12:50 a.m.
So what is going on between 12:29 and 12:50? This is when the prosecution says that Karen Reed whacked him out in the street, Justin.
Yeah, so they're trying to say, I believe their time frame was something like 12:32 or 12:34 is when they claim that that she would have hit him based on some data that they pulled from her Lexus. The interesting thing there is, so the prosecution's time frame also changed between trial 1 and trial 2, and then again in the middle of trial 2 because the math wasn't quite mathing for them. If you believe the prosecution's time frame, it would be very difficult, and I think it was something like 4 minutes after the collision, Karen Reed's cell phone reconnects with John O'Keefe's house Wi-Fi, which, unless she was driving remarkably fast, it would be very difficult for her to get back to that house during that time frame,
especially during a snowstorm. And we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty details of this as we get into the trial phase of it. Let's stick with the nightmarish night that Karen Reed has. So she's drunk. She drunk drives home. She goes home. Obviously, at some point, she passes out. And then the nephew and the niece wake up and go like, hey, where's Uncle John? And they wake her up out of she's trying to recover from the alcohol. And she's like, I don't know. He didn't come home. Why isn't he here? And then they start ringing each other's phones up. She starts blowing his phone up, which she'd already blown up earlier in the morning. And then she calls her friend Jennifer McCabe. And McCabe comes over to the house, and they decide that they continue trying to call. They can't find him. He's not answering. So then they decide they're going to go looking for him. And we covered this a little bit in episode 1 here, but just to put the audience in the frame of mind, they arrive at 34 Fairview, and Karen Reed immediately says, there he is. He's over there. And they find him. Maggie, where exactly do they find the body of John O'Keefe?
Okay, so if you're looking at the front of the house, there is a fire hydrant to the left, and there is a flagpole nearby. His body is found to the right of the fire hydrant and slightly to the right of the flagpole, very close to the curb, where also other pieces of evidence, according to the police officers, are found there as well.
Okay, and this is supposedly implausible because at 5 o'clock in the morning, he had been out there and had been snowed upon all night long. And again, there are just tragic disconnects in the Commonwealth's case, which happens all too often. And I'm sure this isn't the last case that we'll talk about. A prosecution team that determines that they got their man or they got their woman, and they're going to make the evidence fit the guy or the gal that they want to say did it. And this seems to me to be a classic case. And we'll get into this when we start talking about the shoddy police work and the investigation that's done. Let's go back to the timeline. So somewhere around 6:25 or so a.m., the EMTs show up. And this is where we get the title for this episode, Did She Do It, Do It, Do It? Supposedly on the day of, and you heard it in the report that we broadcast today from February the 1st in the afternoon of February the 1st, 2022 for WBZ in Boston. You heard that the prosecution claimed that they had eyewitnesses that said that Karen Reed said, oh my God, I did it. I did it. I did it. But that's not going to pan out in the course of the trial, is it, Justin?
So the only people that were saying that she had said those words at that time were basically Jennifer McCabe and Carrie Roberts. Now, there was an EMT at the scene, and actually there's pretty good video that was played during the court case of this whole scene unfolding in front of 34 Fairview. Came from, I believe, a police car camera that was inside the car. So you can see Jennifer McCabe, Carrie Roberts, Karen Reed, all speaking to police officers, EMTs. People are all over the place. Jennifer McCabe was testifying that Karen Reed was screaming, "I did it, I did it, I did it." She's inconsolable. They couldn't calm her down. The problem is the video footage of the actual conversations taking place shows something very different. The only person talking in any of these videos is Jennifer McCabe. Karen Reed looks like she's in shock just standing there. Jennifer McCabe's arms are flailing. She doesn't stop talking the entire time. Keep in mind, the police officers that day never said that Karen Reed said that she did it. Not once. The EMT's story changed between that day and the start of trial 1, where the EMT is the only person that remembers hearing her say that. It's funny that the EMT hears a person confessing to a crime in front of them, but never mentions it to a police officer, never calls over a detective, never says anything to anybody that this person just admitted to this crime. Karen Reed, of course, contends that she was saying at times, "Did I hit him? Could I have hit him?" Things along those lines. Now, I don't know if you want me to get into what happened at trial 2 when they played those clips.
No, we're going to get into those when we get into the actual nuts and bolts of the trial. When Karen Reed first arrives at the scene in the incredible, the terrible nightmare night of Karen Reed, and they find John O'Keefe's body there, she tries to administer, she goes, and apparently he's still alive, as we discussed in episode 1, and she tries to administer CPR. Let's bring Mama High Hurdle in here. What's this like? If this guy's been out in the snow and in inclement temperatures for 5 hours, there's not going to be any warm mouth to blow into or nose to hold, is there?
I wouldn't think so. And apparently, if they brought him in at 6 o'clock, and he wasn't pronounced till 7 something. I mean, did they work on him for an hour, or was he alive for an hour? I mean, that's all questions I would like to know.
Would the EMTs, in your experience, would the EMTs intubate somebody that's dead?
No, you would not. Not if there's no signs of life. If you're not getting anything on an EKG monitor, if there's no heartbeat or anything, you wouldn't.
So
they
that
might
would
get
have been determined. That would have been determined, though, in the ambulance, though. Correct?
In the ambulance,
yeah,
correct. So, but if there is some form of life, if he's still got a pulse, if he's still maybe just not breathing on his own, which is usually why they intubate him, then the paramedics or the EMTs they could intubate him in the ambulance. So I don't know if they did that out in the field and brought him in intubated, or if they intubated him in the hospital. I would think if there was some form of pulse, just he wasn't breathing on his own, then maybe they would have intubated him in the ambulance.
Can we go back to one other thing that's super suspicious based on everything we're talking about right now?
Sure.
So there's this wild scene going on with ambulances, police cars, sirens going, flashing lights all over the place. Keep in mind, this is on the lawn of a retired Boston police officer, Brian Albert, while John O'Keefe, a current Boston police officer, is on his lawn, and never once did he come outside to see what was going on. We've got people giving CPR on his front lawn to a potentially dead person. And when asked about this, he said, well, I mean, what was I supposed to do? I was in my underwear. Later on, he said he would take a bullet for John O'Keefe, but he wouldn't put on pajamas.
Right.
Yeah, this.
Yes, if you listen to the a lot of times when the media, one of the, I think when Mike, when you announced the clip of where they first came on the news and said, that he was found, they said he was found in a friend's lawn. They never said that friend was a retired police chief or whatever. They never connected those dots. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the media tried to keep that out. Mm-hmm.
Well,
to me.
No, I not only did the media do a shoddy job of this, and of course, this just became an international 3-ring circus after this. But the reason it did, guys and gals, is because of the just stupefying circumstances. We haven't even gotten into the scratches on the arm, the presence of the dog, the canine dog, who was a retired canine dog, who supposedly the family dog goes missing. There's so many more things to cover here. Let's just wrap up with this terrible, tragic morning we already covered with John O'Keefe. With all due respect to John O'Keefe and to his grieving family. Karen Reed's also had one heck of a awful night. And now she is greeted with her boyfriend, living boyfriend, dying on this lawn. It's freezing cold outside. She has a hysterical friend, as Justin pointed out, the one that's actually doing all the wailing, and they're gonna intubate him. You would think on the scene. And by the way, the autopsy photos, the intubation is still in. And then they're going to take him in the ambulance. They're going to bring him to the hospital, and he is going to survive until 7:59 a.m. that morning, where I assume that Karen Reed had followed him to the hospital and would be informed that he had died. He had passed away. And for all practical intents and purposes, you would think if you're Karen Reed, you're still. And again, I'll be a star witness for the defense. If she drank as much as they said that she drank, she's got one monster of I need a jar, not a pill, a jar of vitamin B complex hangover and lots of water.
Or hair of the dog. There's no evidence that she got a Bloody Mary. So at this point in time, if you were nursing that kind of a hangover the morning after, who knows what you might say. And yeah, if you blacked out, you probably, again, star witness for the defense, you probably don't remember the minutia and details from when you crossed the point of, I ain't drunk, I'm just drinking, to, no, I'm drunk. You probably don't remember. So I think this is the setup here, folks, and you won't believe what happens next. I mean, if you're already intrigued by this case and you didn't know a lot about it, you can't believe what happens in the next 24 hours as the police now spring into action, well, I guess as best as they can, to try, and now this has gone from, oh my gosh, John's dead, what a horrible thing must have happened to him, to, yeah, his girlfriend killed him, let's go find the evidence and make it stick. And that's what we'll talk about next. So I think we can wrap this episode up and look forward to the next one. So for Maggie O'Connell, Double JD, Justin, thank you. For Mama High Hurdle, I'm your official murder mystery solver and cat herder in chief, Mike Church. Next time on episode 3 of Mom's Murder and Mystery, the police investigation into the death of John O'Keefe begins, and these cops make the cops who did the crime scene for the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson look like Hercule Poirot in Red Solo Cup. I fill you up. Proceed to frame. Read. All episodes of Mom's Murder and Mystery are available as podcast at crusadechannel.com and wherever great and popular podcasts can be downloaded and listened to. Thanks for listening to Mom's Murders and Mysteries, Episode 2. Did she do it? Do it, do it. And until next time, happy Joe Kenda breadcrumb trails to you.